in this game, it's very easy to become quite comfortable in your success or in what you do quite quickly. And I think that one of the lessons that I learned was, actually I didn't really mean it, it was just to be thrown outside of your comfort zone.
So Giles, welcome to the WeTransfer party in Cannes. I wonder if you could start off by telling us a little bit about what we've been doing today and talking about how inspiring you find it. We've had very different creatives who work in very different disciplines talking at our event today. How have you found that, and how interesting do you to hear those different perspectives?
I mean, it was incredible. The first lesson I learned was, if you're going to be part of these people talking, speakers, I mean, I was inspired by them, but I had to talk at the end of them, right? Yeah. So it was kind of, wow, they inspired me. I was like, oh God, I hope I can do this similar sort of thing. But I mean, it was amazing. It was such a great diversity. Neil was incredible. Shep, wow, anecdotes upon anecdotes of the world of rock and roll and beyond, and how to maintain a career as well. And Ken, no doubt, he's obviously, pretty well known for his talks and his inspiration and his thoughts. So yeah, it was amazing. It was a great idea. And I hope that I kind of gave out at least 10% of energy like they did for me, anyway.
So I wonder if you could talk us, your particular session, you talked about your work in radio and in clubs and with record labels, but you also talked really interestingly about how you get inspired by an international array of musicians. I wonder if you could talk to us a little bit about that, and particularly Brazil, what kind of effect that's had on you.
Well, I think it's about, in this game, it's very easy to become quite comfortable in your success or in what you do quite quickly. And I think that one of the lessons that I learned was, actually I didn't really mean it, it was just to be thrown outside of your comfort zone. Yeah. And so for me, going to Cuba for the first time and being told you've got to make an album in 3 days was like, it was scary, but actually it's led to 10 years of building a sort of archive of great Cuban music, which now means quite a lot, especially with the opening of the gates to Cuba. So, that's an important thing for me as well. Traveling around is just making sure that you find out about the culture, and through music, of course, and certain artists that I was talking about, they opened the door for music for me from other places, outside of the sort of more traditional Anglo-Saxon or European sounds. And, I made the trip to Africa, I made the trip to Brazil, and really went and sort of explored it and realized there was so much more music from there than...
You said really interestingly your first experience of listening to Ethiopian music and the kind of almost visceral physical effect it had on you when you first heard it.
Yeah, I mean, you think you've heard it all, don't you? I mean, in this game, and I do that for a living for 30 years, but you don't ever expect anything new to just blow your pants off and just take you to a place that you didn't know existed. So I mean, I remember when Francis Falsetto is a French curator who put together these compilations of Ethiopian music, Éthiopique, les Éthiopiques, and that's where I first heard Mulatu Astatke, and wow, I mean, Wes Anderson ended up using him on a lot of his films, and it was just a sort of, the boundaries and there's so much here in this planet that we need to explore and find out about.
And you mentioned this on stage, so I'm not speaking out of turn here. You're over 50. You're a man who is over 50 years old. How important is it to stay open-minded and to stay excited and interested and enthusiastic about the new possibilities, the new things you might come across?
Well, that's what keeps me going. I think that, again, it's very easy just to sort of go to the same restaurants and hang out with the same people, but there's so much more opportunity. And I think this kind of thing that you do maybe more when you're younger. Yeah. You kind of, you're a bit more open to change and challenge. And I think that's the thing that I've kind of tried as best as I can, to just keep opening doors and finding new places that exist. And I've done that through music, and that's allowed me to meet, discover, and see the world in a slightly different light, And I think travel is really important. You can't do that online. You have to get there and do it, and you've got to basically experience that. And I think that what we're doing here and what I do on the radio is really to be able to tell more people that there's more option.
And just finally, you're obviously working with WeTransfer now. We're very excited to have you joining us. Could you talk a little bit, you mentioned it on stage, why was that an exciting opportunity for you? And particularly the way, I suppose, the media landscape or the music landscape is changing. Why is WeTransfer a good fit for you right now?
Well, I think that I came through the music industry in the 80s on the back of the golden era, labels like Island Records, who were really prepared to take risks with music because they could afford it. They had their big hitters and they could go and say, well, let's go and make a record with these dreads in Jamaica, and that's how they found Bob Marley. And I think as the music industry started losing shape and losing focus and the landscape changed, we were a little bit lost for a while, and that's when I left the majors and I started doing it DIY and creating my own independent labels. And now, full circle, you've got all these platforms like WeTransfer which allow me to be able to have ambitious ideas musically, conceptually, and I've got someone who's really a great partner to give me that opportunity to launch out and find it. So this is perfect. So it's a full circle for me, but it's a full circle. But the people running it, the people certainly at WeTransfer, they have this sort of slightly subversive, punky attitude. I love that. But they've got the finance and the support as well. So those two things together with great ideas, concepts is like, it's a dream come true for me.